at dusk, or maybe we go try to see more big cats. But once we found out that we could maybe see a rhino, we all got on the same page immediately, and we were of one mind. And for some reason, the excitement around that was just palpable. We were 6-year-olds on Christmas morning, and words became optional. Bob and I looked at each other, and we just gave a shoulder shrug, which basically said, "This is insane." And every time Mark and I made eye contact, we were like, just shaking our heads. And I think we both realized it was like we were in the best dream together ever. Well, after a few empty searches, a call came over the old CB radio in the Jeep. Now, none of us knew Swahili, but we leaned in and we listened intently as if we did. And finally, the translation came. Somebody in a Jeep in another part of the park thought that they maybe possibly saw a rhino going into this bush area. Well, that was enough for us, and off we went. When we arrived, we were greeted by 8 or 10 other Jeeps, all of them just fixated on this one particular bush. We were immediately absorbed into their community, connecting with strangers in this place and time, in this location that we had never even heard of a few days earlier. Now, as a lifelong Minnesota sports fan, I have been conditioned for disappointment. But all of those years of conditioning didn't dampen my hope of maybe seeing a black rhino. We were all just laser focused on that bush, hoping that maybe we could see some sort of a leaf shake or a twig bending, something to give us some indication that there was a rhino inside of that Jeep. The anticipation was thick. We were all just paralyzed with it. It was actually quite intense. And then it happened. This beautiful rhino emerged from the bush with a baby. What a moment. I was just screaming on the inside, but of course, trying not to make a sound. I could just tell that we were all just wanting to soak in every microsecond of this rare opportunity to see this beauty in the wild. It was transcendent. Over the past 10 years, I've led 4 humanitarian trips to Rwanda, and at the end of each of those physically and emotionally taxing weeks, we've ended with a safari, and we've had no shortage of memorable moments. We've spent time up close and personal with silverback gorillas up in the volcanoes of northern Rwanda. On the Serengeti, we've watched cheetahs run at full speed, and we've seen a leopard drag a wildebeest up a tree. We've been surrounded and charged by elephants. We've had vervet monkeys steal food right off of our plates. Sean was crowned king. Gina was mugged by a baboon. Brad danced with a stork, and Mark fed giraffes right out of his mouth. These are all amazing events that I never dreamed I'd be part of seeing. But more than just fun stories to tell at a poker table, all of these trips and all of these experiences have given me so much insight into who I am and how I live my life. And one thing has really stuck with me, that all of these experiences would not have been nearly as memorable, nearly as significant, if I had done them alone or if I had not done them with the right people. And as I've reflected on that, I realize how true that is in every area of my life. My joy and fulfillment is completely dependent upon having the right companions with me along life's journey, about having people with me who share my same passion. It's about having the right peeps in my Jeep. This seems so obvious now, but I had never made that connection. So now, whatever I do in life, whether I'm on safari or I'm doing humanitarian work or in my everyday life, I consider who are the peeps in my Jeep. Am I traveling with people that have the same shared passion? If not, I stop. I take a break. I might invite others into the Jeep, and I might invite others out of the Jeep. Sometimes I just change the seating assignment to try to get some of the people closer to me in the Jeep. Sometimes I just exit the Jeep altogether and look for a new Jeep with new peeps, maybe even going somewhere else. When I look for lions that have just been reintroduced into Akagera National Park for the first time since they were wiped out in post-genocide Rwanda, I want peeps in my Jeep like Shannon, who shares my passion for the weight of this historic significance. When I'm in a maternity ward in Kivuruga, Rwanda, with no running water, with no electricity, with no floor drains, with untrained staff, and with limited medical equipment, I want peeps in my Jeep who are going to grieve at the same depth I'm grieving and then well up with the passion to say, we can drive a positive change. When I'm at the Bushoka Health Center and I hold 18-month-old Josie Ann, who weighs 11 pounds, I want peeps in my Jeep who are going to join me in saying, this is not okay. When I go to Buffalo Wild Wings to watch the Minnesota Vikings in the playoffs, I want peeps in my Jeep who are going to be just as excited when the Minneapolis Miracle happens. When Tracy and I are in the throes of wrestling with our faith and wrestling with our spirituality, I want peeps in my Jeep like Stacy and Greta, who are not going to stand back and just judge us for our questions, but instead are going to join us in that wrestling. And when I have an opportunity to interview a famous poker player, I want peeps in my Jeep who are going to join that conversation with that same humble excitement. Shared passion magnifies those things that we already care about. Shared passion increases our impact and deepens our relationships. Shared passion magnifies and brings more joy to our life. And wouldn't it be great if more of us were experiencing greater levels of joy in our lives? When we find somebody to share our passion, whether it's one person or it's a stadium full of people, our experiences and our lives move from memorable to epic. So how do we start moving in this direction? One suggestion I have is think about those areas of your life where you used to be passionate and that sort of waned and you wish you could get it back. You wish you could rekindle that passion. And then with that in mind, start taking a look at all of the people who are in your Jeep. Not just the ones who are sitting next to you, but the people that are in the back, the people that are around the edges. They might be your coworkers or your classmates. They might be your neighbors. Maybe it's people from your bowling league or your hairdresser or friends of friends. But don't just pass by them as if they're a blurred mass of faces. Pause on each person and see what sort of feeling that emits in you. If there's a feeling that kind of wells up in you that's positive and you think maybe they could help me reignite that passion in my life, pay attention to that and then have the courage to engage with that person. I was walking through this not too long ago in my life when I realized that, you know what? I'm not laughing. I love to laugh. I love to have fun, but I wasn't laughing. Over the years, my Jeep had become filled with more and more people who were great people, but they didn't share my passion for laughter and for fun. And so I reached out to Chris. This is my wife's cousin's husband. So somebody